cold silence, the sudden disappearance when someone so beloved suddenly vanishes from the public eye, it leaves a silence that echoes louder than words. For years, Catherine, Princess of Wales, had been a symbol of strength and grace, ever present at charity events, state ceremonies, and quiet visits to hospitals. But in January 2024, that presence vanished. The palace released a brief and clinical statement. The princess had undergone abdominal surgery for a non-cancerous condition. No further explanation. No photographs. No appearances. And most notably, no Kate. At first, people respected the privacy. After all, the royal family has long been tight-lipped about personal matters. But as days turned to weeks, and weeks stretched into months, a subtle unease began to take hold. Kate missed key royal events like Commonwealth Day and Easter, events where her absence spoke louder than any speech. Prince William began appearing alone, his demeanor noticeably strained. His smile was there, but it was different. Tighter. Forced. Then came the breaking point. He missed the funeral of King Constantine of Greece, a close family friend. That absence made the world stop and ask, what is really going on? The silence from the palace was no longer dignified, it was deafening. Speculation filled the void. Social media buzzed with theories, both wild and chillingly plausible. The longer the palace withheld information, the more convinced people became that the truth was being hidden. And while rumors swirled, inside the palace, sources whispered of tension, secrecy, and something far more serious than the public had been led to believe. On March 22, 2024, the silence broke, but not with a press conference, not with an official palace update. Instead, the world was greeted by a quiet, deeply personal video message. Catherine, seated alone on a wooden bench in a serene garden, looked composed, but her eyes revealed a different story. In a calm, steady voice, she shared the news no one had seen coming: cancer had been found after her surgery. She had already begun preventive chemotherapy. There were no titles, no grand stage. Just Kate. A wife, a mother, a woman grappling with a life-altering diagnosis. Her words were simple, her tone steady, but they struck like a thunderclap across the world. "I'm getting stronger every day," she said, "by focusing on the things that will help me heal in my mind, body, and spirit." She thanked the public for their support, and gently asked for privacy, especially for her children. This wasn't a curated royal performance. This was human vulnerability, raw and real. For a moment, the crown didn't matter. The protocols didn't matter. What mattered was that one of the most beloved figures in modern royalty was in a battle for her life. The announcement explained the silence, but it didn't erase the shock. And it introduced new questions. Why had the palace waited so long to share this? Had Prince William known all along? Or was even he left in the dark? According to some reports, William had only been informed weeks after her surgery. The palace was not just managing a health crisis, it was managing the fallout of secrecy. As spring turned to summer, Catherine vanished once again. There were no photographs of her leaving treatment centers, no sightings during family outings, no glimpses through car windows. It was as if she had disappeared into another world, one that the public wasn't allowed to see. Behind the gates of royal estates, chemotherapy sessions continued under intense security. Kate's schedule was wiped clean: no charity visits, no ribbon cuttings, no public duties. Her only focus was healing and staying close to her children. But the battle wasn't just physical, it was emotional, and intensely private. Sources whispered of her struggles: long days filled with exhaustion, waves of nausea, and the emotional toll of a life put on hold. Her hair, once the subject of countless magazine covers, was reportedly thinning. She read bedtime stories when she could, and wrote letters to other cancer patients when she had the strength. Inside the palace, opinions clashed. Some advisors wanted to release more frequent updates, to calm the growing storm of speculation. Others pushed for continued silence, arguing that privacy was paramount. The tension grew, even as Kate tried to shield her family from the chaos outside. Prince William, meanwhile, bore the weight alone. Public appearances became more strained. He smiled, he waved, but often, he looked elsewhere, as if his thoughts were always with someone else, someone fighting a battle the world could only imagine. Then came the moment that reopened old wounds. In June 2025, the official Royal Ascot program listed Catherine among the carriage procession guests. It was supposed to be a celebration, her first grand public reappearance. Excitement rippled through the press and the public. Was she finally returning? But just hours before the event, the palace released a quiet statement. The Princess of Wales would not attend. No explanation, no apology, just a vague note that her name had been added by mistake. The damage was instant. How could such a prestigious event make such a critical error? Was Kate ever actually scheduled to appear? Or had someone jumped the gun, assuming too much too soon? Reports conflicted. Some sources said she had considered attending but backed out at the last moment. Others insisted she had never confirmed at all. Whatever the truth, the fallout was swift. Confusion turned to frustration. Old conspiracy theories, once buried, returned with a vengeance. On social media, #WhereIsKate began trending, again. The public's trust, slowly rebuilt since her video announcement, was now cracked wide open. Once more, people wondered if they were being misled. Was the palace still hiding something? A simple miscommunication had turned into a full-blown PR disaster. And it exposed a truth that the palace had tried hard to avoid. Trust, once broken, doesn't heal overnight. While the world obsessed over appearances and PR statements, something far more personal was happening behind closed doors. Inside the royal household, life had changed entirely. For Prince George, Princess Charlotte, and Prince Louis, the absence of their mother was not a media story, it was their daily reality. Their routines shifted. Home became quieter, more guarded. Even their school lives were touched by the invisible weight of their mother's illness. Prince William was no longer just a future king. He had become the anchor of the family. He did the school runs, managed bedtime stories, reassured his children when their eyes filled with questions they didn't know how to ask. The palace continued to function, but the heart of the family was in healing mode. In a rare public comment, William later described 2024 as the hardest year of my life. And for a man trained from childhood to hide emotion, that single sentence said more than 1,000 official statements ever could. Through it all, Catherine stayed connected in quiet ways. She remained a mother first, making the effort, even in illness, to show love in the smallest of gestures. That invisible strength, the kind unseen by cameras, became her new legacy. This wasn't just a royal crisis. It was a family doing everything it could to stay whole during the storm. In September 2024, the palace finally shared what the world had been hoping to hear. Catherine had completed her chemotherapy. The message was short, cautious, but deeply hopeful. She was getting stronger, it said, day by day. Soon after, she made a carefully planned public appearance. It wasn't a major event, just a quiet visit to a local hospice. But her presence was powerful. Thinner, more fragile, yet still composed, she smiled gently, waved, and walked with purpose. These moments, once routine, had now become symbols of resilience. Every outing was brief, no more than 45 minutes. Behind each one was weeks of preparation, medical check-ins, emotional readiness. She wasn't just returning, she was redefining what return meant. Gone were the days of spontaneous walkabouts and surprise visits. Every step was measured, every appearance carefully timed. Her schedule wasn't dictated by royal duty, it was governed by her body, her doctors, and her healing. But in that fragile return, something remarkable happened. The public saw not just a princess, they saw a survivor. A woman who had faced fear, pain, and doubt, and was learning to live again, one moment at a time. Catherine's absence revealed something the monarchy had never fully acknowledged, just how much of its modern strength rested on her shoulders. Without her, the institution felt colder, more distant. The warmth she brought to engagements, the bridge she formed between the royal family and younger generations, gone, almost overnight. Queen Camilla and Princess Beatrice were asked to step up. They did, dutifully, but the public response was muted. There was no replacing Kate. Internally, aides quietly admitted that the monarchy had no plan for her prolonged absence. Her popularity was unmatched, especially among those aged 18 to 35, a demographic the royals have long struggled to reach. With Catherine gone, Prince William's approval ratings dipped slightly. More concerning, however, was the broader sentiment. Support for the monarchy began to wane, particularly in parts of the Commonwealth. In Australia and Jamaica, Republican movements gained traction, pointing to the palace's silence around Kate's illness as yet another reason for separation. This wasn't just about one person, it was about the system. The illusion of stability cracked, showing how much of it was propped up by one woman's relatability. Her health crisis exposed not only personal vulnerability but institutional fragility. As 2025 unfolds, the royal family stands at a crossroads. The monarchy has always been about tradition, crowns, ceremonies, and continuity. But Catherine's journey has disrupted that rhythm. She's no longer just a royal figure. She's a symbol of something deeper: resilience, humanity, vulnerability. The palace now faces a choice: continue with the old model of polished appearances and controlled narratives, or evolve into something more honest, more transparent. Three futures seem possible. 1. Catherine returns in full, eventually resuming the steady duties she once carried with ease. 2. She steps back permanently, becoming more of a quiet figure than a public one. Or 3. The most likely, she embraces a flexible role, appearing only when her health allows, on her own terms. Whichever path she takes, one thing is clear: her influence endures. She has changed how people see royalty, not as untouchable icons but as real people navigating pain, family, and public scrutiny. Kate's decision to prioritize her health could redefine what it means to be a modern royal. Already, palace communications are changing, less formal, more emotionally open. There's even talk of building in new protocols for handling personal health crises in the future. In the end, Catherine's story is still being written. And perhaps that's what makes it so powerful. It's not a fairy tale. It's a human story, unfinished, uncertain, but profoundly real. And the world is watching, hoping, and quietly cheering her on. If this story moved you, don't forget to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and stay tuned for more powerful stories from inside the royal family.